trying to film, but Daisy's causing mischief. So today I'm going to try and answer your questions about exactly how much accountants get paid, because I know a few of you in the group are very interested in this topic, and why wouldn't you be? When I'm thinking back, when I first got my very first job, I was actually very excited when they offered me 11 grand. And I know that might not seem a lot, but for an individual who's just come out of school with just the GCSEs or A-levels behind them, 11,000 is actually not too bad. Now, employers have to pay you minimum wage depending on your age, so that might be a little bit higher obviously if you're 18 and over, but they can also pay you just an apprenticeship's wage, which could be a little bit lower. But in my experience, an individual who's just starting the AAT level 2 should be expecting anywhere from 9,000 up to about 13,000. Now, when I did my training, I was on a contract agreement, so that every time that I passed a level, not an exam, when I passed a full level, my pay would increase between 500 and 1,000. And that's usual. Definitely if you're working in practice, you can expect that if you're on a student agreement, that each time you pass an exam or a level, that's going to increase ever so slightly. Now, when I passed my AAT level 4, it took me 3 years because that was under the student timetable, so the September to the May the following year, I was on £14,000. And again, that's fairly typical, so individuals who don't have any prior experience or who are fresh out of college, for example, you can expect anywhere between 14 and I'd say 17,000, but this is for an individual who's working in practice, who again has got no prior experience and just has their GCSE or A-levels, not an individual who's had work experience before that point. Now, if you go onto your ACA or your ACCA or your Cima, you can expect anywhere from about 16 up to 25, 26,000 depending on where you work. Again, in practice, if you work for one of the top 4, like PwC, BDO, KPMG or EY, then you can expect the top end of that. Whereas if you work in a smaller firm, you're probably going to be expecting around the 16 to 20,000 pound bracket, I'd say. Now, it's a little bit different if you work in an industry, because a lot of individuals who work in industry don't just start their AAT straight away. A lot of them have already got prior work experience and have worked in companies for a little bit of time. But whether you be someone who's just starting out or who does have a little bit of experience, you can expect a slightly higher salary working in industry than you do in practice, especially at the beginning. So I'd say individuals who are working in industry, you're probably expecting to earn anywhere from around 18,000 up to 25 to 27 throughout the period of studying your AAT. So I would say an individual who's past level 2 going on to level 3 is probably looking at 22.5 to 25 possibly, and an individual who's finished their AAT level 4, you're looking at 23 to possibly 26,000, whereas individuals who are studying Cima and Cipfa, ACA, ACCA and industry, you're probably looking at anywhere from around 25,000 up to and including 32,000. And it just depends exactly where you work, so you can't always put a definitive figure on the salary that you're going to be earning. But then you also have individuals who've got years and years of experience, who are qualified by experience, who then decide later in life to take their AAT, because obviously you can study AAT at any point in your career. So I've seen individuals who decided after 20 years to take the AAT, and they're earning anywhere between 40 and 50,000 a year. So it's a difficult one to answer. Now, if you go on to study any of the higher qualifications, so again, the ACCA, ACA, Cima, Cipfa, or some of the tax qualifications, then you're also going to be earning a little bit more. So individuals who qualify with ACA certainly earn anywhere from 35,000 upwards to, I'd say, 45,000 if you've just qualified. And that again depends on whether you're working in practice or industry. That varies significantly. And it's the same with individuals studying Cima and Cipfa. You can expect to earn at least £30,000 once you've qualified. Now, after that, depending on how many years experience you have, that pay bracket's going to increase over time. So once you've got 5 years experience with, say, the likes of ACA or ACCA, you'll be paid a little bit more, because by that point you're going to be possibly of a managerial status in your employment. And certainly individuals who've got at least a decade of experience or more are going to again be paid a little bit more, because their job role by that point is possibly going to be senior management or head of finance, senior finance controller, group controller, that sort of role. So once you get to that sort of level in your career, you can be looking to earn anywhere from about £55,000 upwards. But again, it just depends on the company that you work for, whether you work in an industry, whether you work in practice. If you work for a large company rather than a small company, geographically, you've got to take that into consideration. So if you're working in London, you're going to be paid more than if you're working in the north. So I hope you found all of that useful. Do consider subscribing as always, and I shall see you on the next video. Yeah. Good girl.